Yeah, we sure do. I'm kind of ready for things.
Is recording just
Okay, so we'll call the October meeting of the Bethany Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Let's see the agenda. So we have Hiram.
thanks.
Don't worry about that.
He's just like Cher, he goes by Hiram. No, Hiram Peck, town planner. Lena Frazier is zoning enforcement officer. Donna Shea, member. Rob White, member. Nancy Held-Speaky, member and chair. And tonight, I think we're gonna seat 3 alternates, so we'll seat Adam Carbone, we'll seat Karen Miller, and we'll seat Brad Gupta, all 3 alternates.
Reckon we need to see, because there's 3 of you here, right?
Well, did we think that we needed?
Just need 5.
We just need 5, okay, and Brad, you served like you were seated last week?
Last time, yeah.
Yeah, okay, then we'll just, it'll be,
Okay.
Adam and Karen this week. Okay. Okay. So I need 5 vocals now. Review and approval of the previous meeting minutes. And, I read these. And my only comment is, I don't think that I moved or seconded any of these.
Okay,
I don't know who did,
okay,
but I don't believe I did. Like,
okay,
typically I call for somebody to make a motion, so I don't know who did, but I just noticed that.
okay.
That's always there.
Has everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes? Any other comments on the minutes? Okay, I'm hearing none. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
As amended. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second, any other comments before we vote? Okay, all in favor to accept the minutes with the amendment? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions?
I've seen,
Okay. Wasn't there.
I wasn't there, I didn't see.
Okay. Bills and appropriate submission, and I think it's just Hiram. $2,000 invoice for services. We have a motion to approve the invoice.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice.
Second, all in favor?
Right.
Okay,
Any opposed? Extension, okay.
Thank you.
second. Who seconded? Adam. Adam?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Publication of appropriate commission action, we have nothing here.
There are 2 letters.
So the first letter sent, PMZ from Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. Text amendment to Seymour zoning regulations for accessory dwelling units. With notification of that, and then a letter sent via email. The first selectman will be shared with PNZ. Dated September 23rd, 2024, Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless. Notice of intent to modify an existing telecommunications facility located at Myers Road, AK 93 Old Amity Road, Bethany. Decision. Okay, so we've received those 2. No action. No public hearings. Old business. No old business on the agenda tonight. Okay, new business. First item, Darius.
Waskowitz, can you hear me?
That was good. Okay, Waskowitz, 58 Old Amity Road. 58A Old Amity Road, lots 58A, 58A Old Amity Road. Discussion regarding intended use of the property.
Yes, so my name is Darius. Is it time for me to speak or not yet?
Sure.
Yeah, so my name is Darius Waskowitz. I'm one of the partners of purchasing the property from the bank there, Ion Bank. So I talked to Hiram and Lena a little bit. We're doing our due diligence. And so basically what we're going to be doing is finishing the project as originally designed, and the use is going to be the same with the community room. I know that the bank was talking about converting that, and we're not going to do that. We're going to just go ahead and finish as planned originally. And the other caveat too is we'll be renting the units, not selling the units. And we intend to do the agriculture use, everything almost identical to what the original approval was, I guess. Anybody have any questions, or can you hear me?
We're gonna have to pay, this is, we're gonna have to pay for me to distribute here
No, this is.
with regard to this.
The files were shared, these are all the permits that were approved prior to it, and I am going to be sharing, that's the site as it looks currently. When I last visited, we took an aerial view of the site. And I can share the site plan as being discussed.
Is there anything before the commission? Like, is there any sort of application, or is this just for informational purposes?
No, yeah, I guess I was invited by Lena, and Hiram suggested that, I just come and speak, let you know what the intent is. But no, we're not. If we were going to, like, in the future, anything that we would be changing, we would apply for. But currently, we're just going to finish up everything as approved. And again, the only caveat is that we will be renting the units.
Remember there was some discussion about parking, at one point?
Yeah, I think the bank proposed they wanted, because their plan was to condonize everything and sell them, so they have a parking plan. So we intend to implement that at a later date. We like to, I understand we're supposed to pave the entry per the fire department, and then we'll gravel the rest of the roads according to the width. And then next spring, after we finalize any work, because we have to tie in the water lines and such to get the COs on the buildings. So if we do, we'll come back with an updated plan, which maybe will include the parking spaces, or maybe anything else that we see that may need to be addressed.
So the reason why I brought and I invited Derek to discuss this with the commission is because when I spoke to Derek, he mentioned that he is going to be the owner of the property, but he is going to be leasing the property, what happens to be a non-for-profit.
No, they're not a non-for-profit.
It's not for non-for-profit, what to the veterans that are going to be transitioning through housing rentabilities and at this location.
Yeah, so the prospective tenants we have is a veterans group. They're not a non-for-profit. So we will be paying taxes on all the units as however they were decided before. We understand that I think 9 units, when we build out 30, because there's only 22 finished, I think 9 units have to be within accordance to the affordability as laid out in the approval. But yeah, we'll be renting, but it's nonprofits may be helping to service some of these people. But really what it is transitional housing so that they can get into permanent housing on their own. So they'll have job training and stuff like that. That's, but the main focus for them here would be their living facilities. So they'll have families, that if they do of school age, they'd attend school. But really they'll just be like renters, like, anybody else that may be renting in the town of Bethany.
Could you describe the services that you believe would be provided for these people? You mentioned job training. Is there anything else?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're gonna, just like the other people, they're gonna grow, their intent is to grow crops and share food. But again, any of these services are available to anybody, anywhere. It's not a site specific. They will use the community room to gather together and talk about whatever they want to talk about. I don't think that's any of our kind of business. But as to anything specific, I'm not sure what you're asking, because job
Like,
training programs are in New Haven, they're in Waterbury, they're all over the place.
so you said like any medical services provided there?
Well, they may have a home health aide, just like anybody else, but no on-site. That they could have somebody come visit them like anybody else. They may have a meeting, a group meeting that they sponsor together to discuss whatever they feel like. But as to on-site services, no, it's more of a social gathering. I think just like the other people were going to do.
What was the name of this group? Do we have that? Or did he say it? I'm sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, Freedom Care One. They actually had an event that we invited people from the town, and a lot of people came. There was one neighbor that expressed concerns, but after we talked, he understood that it is just housing, just like it's not like a rehab center. It's not a sober house. It's regular housing, just specific in helping veterans that are about to fall through the cracks, or that have but are already built back up, so that they could live on their own and get prepared for a full-time job or a career, and then they move on, after 6 months, a year, or 2 years. But it's not daily. This is not like a halfway house. This is housing. They're renting for them to to live.
What's the expected term of the rental?
I have no idea. It could be years. It could be months. I mean, just like anybody, if you get a job offer and you have to move, there's we're signing a multi-year lease with them. And so they'll be in charge. But they had told us that, they expect 3 months on the short end, and as long as necessary, which could be years and years and years on the long end.
But there is leases?
Yes, they will be leasing the units from us.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So it's not like a day rate, or no, they have a 10-year lease to start.
Yeah.
I think what we're hearing from various, and I think that what we understand is that the plan that the commission approved originally, including the community room, is what will be done going forward. And if there are,
Yes.
and if there are any changes to areas to that plan, then you'll come back to the commission, whether it's changes in parking or whatever, that will come back to the commission as a revised site plan. But the number of affordable units, for example, would be the same as it was originally approved, correct?
Everything is going to be the same according to the drawings. And because it's all based on what the septic system that's already been approved. So yes, everything is identical. And again, later, say if we wanted solar panels or a grow house, that anything like that, of course, we'd come to the commission. And yes, with parking, we just don't know that what the bank laid out is what we would like. So yes, anything that we would require your approval, we'd come in front of you again. But right now, the intended use is exactly in my mind of what was approved.
Thank you.
You didn't answer that.
I don't have
You
any
did not
other
answer that
questions.
question. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You just didn't say anything about affordable.
Yes, I did. We're going to comply by the 9
Please.
affordable. I think it's right there in the regulation.
Yeah, it's a third of the units there, so if it's 9 or 10, but.
Yes, so right now it's 22 units are built, so a third of them, but the intent is there's 8 units that are not finished. We'll finish them according to the drawings. So then that would be 30, and so that would end up with 9 affordable units as per exactly how you guys approved it.
Other questions? Do you have any further questions?
No, the only thing that Derek is aware is that we're waiting for the approvals for the agencies for the water and the septic health department, so he's aware of it. Without that, he's not gonna be acquiring the certificate of occupancies.
Yep,
And the-
and so for update on that is I believe the final drawings have been completed, approved by the state, but they're waiting on RWA to put their blessing on it.
So if I remember correctly, there was somebody living in one of the units possibly?
No one is living.
Oh, okay, fine.
And there's nothing before us tonight, no variance.
No, it just was,
or
I think what
anything.
we wanted to do was to just to let people know what the situation was, because there was some interest in it.
Mhm.
And so we're all learning, it'll be the same as was previously approved.
Okay, all right. No other questions?
So Hiram, if they build out the project to finish it as it was originally approved, there's nothing really for the commission to do with this.
No,
project?
what we would do typically as staff is make sure that it complies with the affordable housing plan that was presented. Number of units that are supposed to be affordable are the same as was approved. And that it complies with whatever the commission's approval was. That's right.
So it doesn't come back in front of us again.
Not much there were changes.
Unless there were to be the changes or as it was proposed previously by the bank to have the common house converted to more units.
Which would be a change, so.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they came back one other time, I think, Bob Reedman came in and talked about that, and considering turning that into the other units. But this applicant, with potential owner, says that they're gonna leave that as a community room, which was the way it was originally put. No, no need to change it.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Siri.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Derek.
Um, Second application, 2410. Applicant owner Black Dog Group, Robert Santarella, 74 Amity Road, being on its own.
Is he here?
Right, are you? Oh, okay, so this is just, correct new business sign, this is just an, application for a sign.
Yes.
Yeah, give a drawing, when I first came in for the change of use permit. I said I was gonna use the existing pole, and that's exactly what we're doing, it was the original one from the 70s. So we just took it down to clean it up and paint it. And the sign will be 20 square feet. Non-lighted. You need the drawing, or do you have it? I think you got it. The post is 4 inches by 4 inches by 18. And it's set. Just behind the stone wall, which is exactly where it was. So same location, same sign, or same pole, everything's the same except obviously it's not gonna say Uniroyal anymore.
Okay.
Bobby, can you point out where exactly on this is gonna be located? Finish.
So. And I can't. I think it's right about between these two posts, right on this side of the wall.
Behind the
this-
stone wall?
Yeah. Yeah, right here. So the sign will basically hang over the middle tree. Which is. You know. I wouldn't like to put it here, but it'll be too close, so it's gonna end up here. So.
Is this where my arrow is? Is this
Correct.
right around there?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's actually, I think it's on this side of that post, but
On this side?
yeah, but it's. Yeah, it's for all intents and purposes, it's right on that side of the stone wall, hanging over.
Is it right under the very bright light that you have on the road?
I don't have a very bright light on the road.
That's a light the night program that was there prior to me coming in there. It's been there for, I don't know how many years.
Was never on, I guess.
It's always been on. They never shut it off. I didn't even turn the power on. All they did was transfer the bill to me.
Hmm.
I believe that it was covered with poison ivy, so that was probably making a mess of it, you know what I mean? They had, it was very invasive growth all around it, so. But I didn't change it. We didn't add any lights. We didn't do anything with lighting. We just left what they had. And again, they had it, it was still on and they go by the, I don't know, it's been upkept by the Eversource.
You know, with respect to the sign, there's nothing outside of regulations. It's compliant with.
It seems to be compliant. He originally came with this plan and did mention that he was going to post this sign on the original post that was in existence there. And resurrect that area. The reason why I pointed out is I wanted to see if it was going to be placed on the side of his property line or it is going to be on the state side of the property line. That's pretty much it, what it needed to be identified.
Size compliant,
And-
lighted size is compliant. Well,
There's non-lighted size compliance. Yeah.
Okay.
In regards to the size, and there is other, I will be. Do I bring it out now?
Just to be clear, you said that the sign is gonna be on the inside of the, on the wall, really on your property, not on the state property? Correct. Okay. So non-lighted, and EO is that the sign was compliant and.
Do we have a motion to accept the,
Make an extra approval, so.
okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any extensions?
The second,
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh,
guys.
here we go. Karen.
Okay, application 2024-11. Applicant owner Agnes Basanti, 52 Glenwood Court, home occupation permit, kitchen to be utilized for cottage use operation of baked goods.
Yes, I'm here. I'm on Zoom.
Allow use of kitchen to bake bread and other baked goods to sell under CP Cottage food operation laws. And have a pickup stand for online orders. And Hiram, I had a question that it sounds like there's nothing in any of the laws that speak to sales or sales fulfillment restriction or guidance.
That's correct. The legislature in one of the recent sessions said that this permit, this type of permit is acceptable. The only thing that I suggested to the commission and to the applicant is that if the number of pickups become significant, so that it causes a traffic issue in the area, that would come back to the commission as a potential review of the site plan to see if anything needed to be corrected. I'm not sure about this pickup stand. Is that gonna be near the road or is that, where is that going to be located?
Yeah, that's completely, I'm not sure on the lot. I am on a dead end, so I'm not sure if traffic, it would impede traffic. But that's, that's really up to you guys, like where I'm not sure where I'm allowed to do it. If I need to do it further up in my driveway or if it can be near the road. So as they pick up, they can just, kind of pull in front of it, grab their stuff and then go. So that really is, up to you guys.
Does she have, do you have health, the health department approval already?
I can't apply for the license without town approval, so that's why I'm starting here first.
Yeah, we're actually.
It's the opposite.
The thing I recommended about the traffic issue is that it's probably no different than many of our homes where, you know, the Amazon or UPS truck shows up twice a day, like some houses I know. But I think as long as it doesn't cause a traffic problem and the things can be picked up without obstructing traffic, that would be my recommendation to the commission, that'd be okay. Perhaps the applicant could work with the CEO to make sure that that's located in the right position if you decide to approve it.
So, and in terms of, if we were to approve, do we then reserve the right, to your point, that without putting some stipulation in here, we would retain the right that if there were complaints about too many cars, then we could act on that?
Yeah, I would put that in the motion, then
Yes.
everybody's on the same page if it
Yes.
ever comes back, sure.
Yes,
The fact is that it currently cul-de-sac or dead end street.
yes.
That's probably not gonna be an issue, but still, you protect yourself and you protect everybody else in the neighborhood if you say that.
Okay, so, any other questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the applicant for baked goods, with the stipulation that
Wait a minute.
if the traffic becomes too great, we will re-examine her application.
Okay.
What were the hours of operations onto this? I'm sorry, still on motion.
It's not open to the public, so it's really when I have time to bake. Do I need to tell you like what day it would be?
Preferably,
Okay, I mean, initially my plan is, I mean, once I get it going, my plan would be to do like farmers markets on a Saturday. So I would be baking on usually Thursday, Friday, and then most likely pick up for the part that would, you know, possibly affect traffic would be Friday afternoon. Like I would probably do, you know, like a window of like 2 or 3 hours, just you know, because it's baked goods, so it is kind of time sensitive on freshness. So, but I mean, it would be like Thursday, Friday would be the 2 more days that I would do it.
thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so we have a motion, I think it's sufficient in terms of pertaining, right to reassess should there be concerns. All right, we have a second here. Any discussion? Okay,
Your motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Nancy
opposed?
did.
Any abstentions? Okay, it's approved.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, fourth item. Application 2412, applicant owner Joe Maple, CFC Park, 667 Amity Road, DNI zone. Site plan approval for various improvements, new added parking, drainage, revision of zoning permit dated 6/29/2016, modification of hours of operation, and addition of field lights.
Good evening. Molly Plant, 43 Bellevue Avenue, Bristol, Connecticut. CFC has been proud to call Bethany its home since 2017, when CFC Park on Amity Road first opened. In the 7 years since, the club has enjoyed success and is now proud to be considered one of the largest premier soccer organizations in the state of Connecticut. The club is continuing to grow, and this application reflects that. Every improvement that has been included on this application is there, so the club can continue to provide the excellent quality of experience that players and their families have come to know, expect, and love, and can continue to do so, and in turn remain competitive in this area, both within the state and across the wider region. So I have John Paul Garcia here with me this evening to give you an brief overview of the project. I also have Sean O'Brien, the club's manager, who's here to answer any questions you may have of him. I also have Mr. Joe Naples, the applicant for the project, to answer any questions you may have of him.
For the record, John Paul Garcia, I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor, licensed to practice in the state of Connecticut, Principal Officer 190 Fairwood Road, the town of Bethany. I'm here representing CFC Park. There were a number of issues when the park was first developed, one of which we're trying to correct, which is one of the significant features of this operation, and that is parking. There are a number of issues in general, but the parking is one of the bigger ones. There's a parking issue in the street. We're gonna try to improve that by adding another 48 spaces, bringing the total up to about approximately 196 spaces. We also want to include lights at the four corners of the field, bleachers adjacent to each field. We're gonna hardscape a lot of the grassed areas because the kids are just destroying it, fencing and grasscape, and the grass just doesn't hold it. So we're gonna hardscape a lot of the areas. We're paving the south access road and making some other minor improvements. We'd like to increase the hours of operations to 10 o'clock. And that's just to give the kids enough time to get off the field.
From 10 o'clock from,
What is it now?
what is it?
It ends at 10 o'clock. Starts at,
Right now, the kids are on the field at 5 with their training.
so 5 to 10.
Okay.
We're asking for lights. We've been to the Wetlands Commission because there was an issue about fugitive light. We resolved that. We have a wetlands permit. We've increased the drainage. We've improved the drainage. We've added a new basin in the back to pick up the new parking area. So we feel that this is a vast improvement over some of the, and to the issues, some of the issues we've had. Mainly, like I said, one of the biggest ones is parking. Anybody got any questions? It has to go to a public hearing, so I'm here. Just, I'll give you as much information as you want or as little as you want.
The intent with the lights only to be on when fields are being used.
Yes. In other words, they're not planning on running till midnight or 1 o'clock. They're planning on shutting off at 10. But if the game stops at 9:30, you keep the lights on, and then they'll shut them off. There's a lighting diagram that was included as part of the application, which shows there's almost no light leaving the site. And to be honest with you, the lighting diagrams are a bit misleading, because a lighting diagram assumes they're shooting this light onto a grass surface.
John.
You have along Amity Road, you have a fairly heavy tree cover, and you have the nets. And the lighting diagram shows approximately 0.3 or 0.4 lumen at the street, which is equivalent to a birthday candle, 1 foot candle. One lumen is 1 foot candle. It's equivalent to a candle 1 foot away. And in practical terms, that amount of light is about the equivalent of a birthday candle. So there is no fugitive light per se, because it doesn't take into account, none of these lighting diagrams ever take into account tree cover, anything like that. So we have down lighting, the light is shielded, which is why there's so little light coming behind it. We are asking for bleachers adjacent to the fields. These are portable bleachers, they're not permanent. But if you've ever gone by there during the game, you'll see people standing up against the fences, walking around, everything else. We're trying to eliminate that. We're trying to get everything under. And if you have any questions about operations, I have the manager and I have the owner behind me. They'll be more than happy to answer questions.
We would need to go to public hearing anyway, so.
So we do a public hearing next month.
Yep.
Well. Yeah, well. The assumption, I apologize, you're right.
I think I remember you saying something about entering and exiting, which is also a challenge, I think, for the facility?
Not per se. What we're gonna do is there's two entrances right now. There's the north entrance and the south entrance. This, and they're right here. This entrance is gonna be gated off. We've already talked to the fire department. It's gonna get gated off, and either put in a Knox box or some other method to allow them access. And this will force everybody, because right now people sometimes try to come through here. This is kept more for emergency access, so we can get an ambulance. There's gonna be an ambulance pad here, and there's an ambulance pad up on top. So they come in this way and go around. This is the main entrance, and it's configured correctly, so there's no issues with that. The issue is parking.
Right.
People would park up and down 63.
Not enough spots to accommodate.
Yeah, well, and people being lazy.
Addressing the landscaping too.
What's that?
The landscaping too.
We're hardscaping everything on this side. We're not doing any more landscaping to the front of the building. We're not doing anything to the side of the building or the back of the building. Actually, they're putting in rain tanks, and they're gonna do rain harvesting and irrigate the back. But the side where the bulk of the traffic is gonna get hardscape, attractive stone and chain and attractive fencing to direct people to go on and off the fields in the appropriate spots. Because right now the kids are just climbing this banks and hopping fence. And we're trying to get that under control.
Once the parking is completed, is there any kind of incentive for people not to park on the road any longer?
Yes, because they'll be told to, and now there's no reason for them. If you have a sufficient parking, there is no reason for them. And once people get that understood, this should eliminate that problem. And there's also, and if the need arises for additional parking, there is room here for another 48 or 50 spaces. But for that, we would have to go back to the STC, State Traffic Commission, because now you have over 200 spaces on the site. We don't want to do that right now. We want to see if this will solve the problem.
Okay.
If this solves the problem, there's no need to do more parking. If it doesn't solve the problem, we've got another 50 spaces to go. But for that, we would need STC approval, because 63 is a state road.
Wait for the public hearing.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You got something on?
Oh, do we want to set a date for the public hearing now then?
It's up to you. You need to have.
Okay, let's do it.
That's it.
Let's just do it. Next meeting would be November
6.
sixth,
Yes.
November 6th. Okay.
We have to make a motion for that.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to set a public hearing for review November?
Make a motion.
I guess it'd be the next regularly scheduled
It's
meeting.
meeting,
Planning
correct.
and zoning.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
all right, Don made a motion. Do we
I'll
have a
second it.
A second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you very much.
All right. You want to talk about it? Okay. Last new business, application 13, applicant owner Alan Clements, 12 Clifford Drive, site preparation work to include driveway, septic and grading for future family house. There you go. Is applicant here?
Alan Shepherd was here.
Barbie, do you want to take the focus?
So for the record, it's Alan Shepherd, professional engineer. And partner in the no copy in John Payne. And I'm here with Alan Clemens, the client. This is Clifford Drive, and as some of the boards probably remember, Clifford Drive is on a hold for the construction of houses for the fire station. But in the meantime, Alan would like to construct his driveway. He's on lot number 4. If you see, which means we're filling to get up the hill. So it's, even though it's on top of the hill, it's a fill down, right? Because you run alongside the slope and we fill in alongside the slope. So we have fill placement. And basically that's in the same spot as we had on the subdivision map. The house is in the same spot, septic's in the same spot. We're just trying to get a partial permit to get the driveway work done, for the earth excavation part of it. Not the house. We'll put fill in the septic area. We'll grade the driveway. And hopefully to get the fire tank situation done. And we'll go through the building permit to find a building. That's what we're here for.
With the driveway and septic,
What's that?
driveway and septic.
Yeah, the driveway and septic area. Because we're gonna put the sand in place anyway. For Quinnipiac to have it tested. So we need the driveway to get the sand in.
So I need to add and point out that this application is also coming in front of the Inland Wetlands Commission because it does require an Inland Wetlands Commission permit.
Does one need to precede the other? Or-
Yeah.
Inland Wetlands have to be approved prior to planning and zoning.
and so do we have an action tonight? Is this just informational one?
We'll get that as well and then.
We're seeing them next week over at wetlands. So
Okay.
I normally I wouldn't suggest this, but I think that given the timing and with the bad weather eventually coming on, if there's gonna be snow again, who knows? That the commission might say, it's okay to allow the zoning enforcement officer to approve this pending approval.
Conditional approval?
Say a month, yeah.
Okay, seems fair.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so
Especially since it's been held up.
Yeah, so at least you can move forward. Assumption that you get your approval at least, so we'll be, anybody want to make a motion and for a conditional approval for the applicant?
Make a motion for conditional approval pending wetlands.
Okay.
I'll second.
So who
So it's just conditional, it's an approval.
condition through
The
wetlands?
condition fulfilled that it's approved by Inland Wetlands.
Okay, and you second it?
I'll second.
You did,
Any other discussion?
conditional approval.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any extensions? Yeah. All right.
See you on the 21st at,
Is there any progress with the?
Hmm?
Is there any progress with the water suppression?
I can sign it. Well, this one's in there. Oh, that is the last new business, that was the end of new business, commission and staff report, discussion, consideration and appropriate action. First one is discussion and consideration in planning preparation for special fall public meeting. Date determined November 20th, 2024. Hear from the public and start discussion about town economic development, town center, village center, etc. This is a continuation of what we started last month in terms of our goal of really proactively trying to work on planning within the town, with a start. So that this would be an event for us, really a listening event, I think, for us. Listening event, hearing from the town, in order to make it successful as well. We hope to kind of, I don't want to say restrict, but ensure that the focus kind of remains on economic development. And what I did, I don't know if you all have a copy, I took an action coming out of last week. A lot of us, and I think some of the people who attended as well, maybe had, and Hiram, I know you did, in fact, you suggested some questions that, we could even publicize before, the event, so that people have food for thought, and I can read some of these off. What kind of town do you want Bethany to be? What do you like about Bethany? What do you not like? What could Bethany use more of? We talked about housing. Civic buildings or areas such as parks, playgrounds, pools, skating area, picnic, hiking, bridle trails, dog parks, etc. Would you like more commercial, shopping, dining, health services, other services, etc.? Enhanced utilities, water perhaps. What does Bethany have as an advantage that draws people here or could draw people here? Some of the noted items were the fact that we have the horse ring at the airport that draws people in, that CFC draws people in. The open space at the airport, which is utilized by a number of groups and ball fields, at least. What does rural mean to you? What makes a town rural? How important is rural to you? Should the entire town be rural or just certain areas? What is your definition of a village center? Describe an ideal village center. What does it have? What does it not have? And, you know, you can obviously expand that, but that's kind of what came out of suggestions from the last meeting.
What I did is I started to draft a PowerPoint program that we would show to the public and ask these various questions. I think I got almost all of them included, but I'll have that done very soon for you. So with the date scheduled for November 20th, I think one of the things I suggested too is that we get an article in the newspaper to let folks know the general idea of what the meeting is, if there's not an application pending or anything like that, but we want to get public input, hear what people have to say. So that's basically it. That's where I am now. Probably, 3/4 done with the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm happy to give that that evening and talk about that. And see where we go from there.
And I think what we thought might even be helpful is that you had in mind some communities, some towns that might be like Bethany, that had successfully managed economic development, whether town center or through or in reasonable amounts of the town, but it retained a certain character, and that the community seemed to be at least happy with the level of development and that it was controlled.
I think that what we'll be glad to talk about is when we get answers to these questions that are well put together here from people. We'll get a good sense of exactly how that ought to come together. And I'll have a few examples, but obviously people will say whatever they want Bethany to be rather than some other town somewhere else. But yeah, I think we'll have a good sense after that meeting of just where we go from there with regard to economic development. I think that's part of it. I think to me, it's all about sustainability. And one of my friends from CLMP used to say, the old CLP used to say, sustainability really has three parts. It has people, it has places, and you also have to be able to make a profit in order to make it work. So as long as people understand that and kind of fit those things together, I think that we'll have a good discussion. Hopefully a bunch of people will show up and go on from there. So I think that's a good start.
And I don't have any objection to this being one of the series of meetings as well. I don't imagine that. Yeah, and we can probably make that clear to people as well. I think what's important is that people understand there isn't an applicant in front of us. That this is really something that we're trying to do proactively, that it's a listening meeting so that we can hear from people. And then, I forgot my last one, but. Oh, that it's one of possibly many. I don't expect that we're gonna solve this in one meeting, and
No.
I think we make that clear.
My sense is that given the time of the year that
Yeah, this
We'll-
is right before
We'll
Thanksgiving.
collect that, probably talk about it at the December meeting. And then get moving forward with some further discussions in the spring. January, February.
Chairman of the Economic Development. I wanted to, build on some of the conversation we've had in the past. Of all the questions you had, it was, sounding very appropriate there. Do we want to maybe plan at the end of this open town meeting to have surveys to hand out to people for them to leave with? That the next meeting or something, we have some information we could process and said, okay, these are the results. I know that one of our members brought me Woodbridge's survey that they did for their EDC and what they.
Yeah, we can prepare a survey. I imagine.
Because people don't
We'll
want to
get a-
leave with something, they have inputs of that,
Well-
that they have a way to, other than just raising their hand. they
Yeah,
want-
so I imagine usually you hear from the people with pretty strong opinion, and then you have people who kind of show up, and I could go either way. I could be convinced by one or another. I'm not gonna say anything till I hear something that really bothers me, right? But I have no problems with we could put a survey out and.
What I
solicit
suggest,
information.
we can send it to the survey,
Oh, Woodbridge's? Yeah.
and then we can take a look at that in
Yeah.
the next few days and get something.
We could
Okay.
possibly do it before, prior to the public hearing to have
Do
something,
either one,
so
that
some
if people
results
can't- I
coming
would
through.
say If people can't attend, they could send a survey back with comments, if somebody can't attend the meeting. And they can listen to the meeting and fill it out, so I think we could take it any and all means to get, I think, the feel of the public across would be helpful.
Are we allowed to utilize social media? Because you will certainly get a feel of what everybody has to say on that.
Yeah, I think as long as there's no application pending, I think it's fine. I would just suggest that, whatever platform is used, that Lena has access to it, so we can see it all. Well, I don't think the last thing we want is comments.
About 4 Bethany pages, I think.
Yeah.
on
But
Facebook.
calling through those, I think, would be tough. I would rather set it up so that if somebody has comments, if it's on an actual digital. Medium,
Platform,
like you
yeah.
can just lift them out.
Yeah.
That to me,
I-
like gathering the data and then assessing the data is gonna be.
I think that, Survey Monkey, and there are certain other
Yeah.
programs that could provide us with some sort of analytics at the end of what the results were. Would
Yeah,
be
so we get a copy of that,
We can also-
the Woodbridge one.
Yeah, and just ask them to, if they have comments, email them to us as well. Feel free to show up.
Yep.
Having had the experience of going through that survey, which was expensive, when we did the affordable housing plan, a lot of comments that were written, people wouldn't want to show up and they were anonymous. It's not helpful. If we don't know who you are or what area you're talking about or whatever, just feel free to come and talk about whatever you want. So we want to, I think, convey that to people, that feel free to say.
Yeah, I think there's really not a wrong answer. It's opinion and, we all understand that everybody has a different vision. We're just trying to really hear from the town in terms of any broad consensus or.
I would just say if people can have whatever opinion they want, just be civil about it and be polite, that's all.
Anything else? So we'll keep that date, we'll get the survey in, and like I said, if the people want to add to the question, if they have anything else that we feel is a pretty good question to glean thoughts, we'll add it to our list and we'll try and get it out there, maybe publish them. Or, I guess we could even, Karen, to your point, we could put our questions and at least advertise that on the websites. So that we could get the message out via
So people
Facebook.
like start
Yeah.
mulling it over. and put it
Yeah,
together.
because even if they go to Survey Monkey,
Well, my suggestion would be, whatever questions folks have or want to get asked, send them to Lena and we'll put it together in that article that we're talking about. So people can go from there.
Yeah,
And
and
then
then,
survey might be a separate issue.
and I can create a link, a specific link to try to create, maintain the survey control.
okay, I'll then work with you. We can sort of make a breakback schedule so that, if we want this in place for the 20th, work back and make sure that we have everything else done
Mhm.
for the 20th.
Mhm.
So I'll work with you. Okay.
Yes, thing about that is also how do you implement it, like, let's say people do want shopping, dining, health services and other services. we can't really, we could kind of direct people to that, but you really can't have any, I mean, if somebody doesn't come here and open a health center or something, you know, how you gonna implement that?
Well, that's what putting the plan is together is all about, really. And if once the areas are selected, area or areas are selected, you say the commission would like to see these kinds of things in this area. And developers, potential developers that might know that that's something that they could do or that they're interested in or they have done before, would probably find it relatively easy to get a permit if it's something that everybody wanted. And so that sort of starts the process moving forward. Not suggesting that the town should do it, but to let people know that this is the kind of thing that we're thinking about. And that's really the type of thing that becomes very helpful when the overall plan for whether it's a village center or whatever is developed. It's once we get that feedback, I think it'll be really helpful to do that. There's lots of potential designs out there. Once we know what people want and what they think it should look like, should probably not look like downtown, I don't know, Bridgeport or Waterbury, Hartford. It should probably look like something that grew organically here over time. That's kind of what we'll shoot for. There's lots of architectural stuff, I'm sure that Bob knows as well too, that we can talk about as part of that survey. So got lots of ideas about it. We just need to find out what people want.
Second item. Discussion and consideration on Public Act 24-142 and Public Act 24-143.
I reviewed both of those and I think 23-142 is an act concerning certain protections for group chart and family childcare homes. And there are 1, 2, 3 sections of it that apply to our regulations. What I will be suggesting to the commission at your next meeting, I'll get it to you before the meeting, is that probably 2 or 3 minor tweaks to the regulations to ensure that we comply with those public acts requirements. Basically, what it says is that no zoning regulation shall treat any family childcare or group childcare home located in a residence and licensed by the Office of Early Childhood any different than a single family dwelling. So in other words, you can do it as of right. That's basically what that one talks about. There's some other minor things that it talks about as well. There, Public Act 24-143 talks about municipal approvals for housing development, talks about fines and a few other things, and rental assistance program, those kinds of things that the town can do as well. And then this one as well, there are about 2 things. One of those talks about potential, you don't have any nursing home, 2 weeks? No, that I'm aware of.
No.
So one of the things in this particular legislation was that nursing homes could be converted essentially as a regular site plan only for housing. That's not going to apply to us, so we're not going to have to worry about it. So again, I think that there are 2 or 3 really small changes to the regulations. I'll have those ready for you. In your next meeting, decide that those are okay, and set a hearing for it at your next meeting. You can probably do that in December. They're pretty late. The reason that it's important now, to note this for the record, is that if the regulations don't comply with the statutes, then the first selectman has to supply a letter to the state saying that our regulations don't comply, and we're not eligible for any grants, discretionary grants.
So we're obligated to certify that we do comply.
Okay.
So
We'll be able to do that right after those changes.
Enforcement officers report and appropriate commission actions. 24 Nella Drive, CMD.
Yeah, we're working on acquiring those easements. Need to establish conversation with 2 of the abutting neighbors to try to finish those off, and that is moving forward. 6 Falls Road and 16 Falls Road, we're waiting for final approval from Inland Wetlands to finish the that drainage project there from with DPW. And 58 Old Amity Road, you have heard the conversation, discussion. and 74 Amity Road. It is 74 Amity Road. I am requiring for the owner of the property to provide us with an updated site plan to conform with the zoning regulations, as the site plan entered during the application needed to be up to date to our current the current use of the property. 65 Emerald Lane provided a letter. He is to enter the use that land as a farm. And the application, he is going to be planting and having a barn installed. I did mention to him that he needs to come for the barn. But most of the properties are in wetlands, so he's gonna have to go through approvals for as of right use of the land for farming. In the application process, I do not know how it will end up being in regards to if he were to use any sort of, I mean, he cannot use machinery on a wetlands property.
It's up to wetlands, but it may be exempt from wetlands regulations if it's farming.
And then what about with planning and zoning, if he were to be, is it gonna be an exempt?
It's exempt for wetland, but not from zoning.
No, not from zoning. So the application has to come forth through zoning for,
Well,
Well, we need to see what it is.
right, I think it's premature, see what he submits, there should probably be an acknowledgement that he actually is a recognized farm,
right,
rather than someone just saying that their property is a farm.
right. So and I did mention that he needs to provide me with a record that he has been the property has been recognized as a farming land.
No, necessarily there's a recognition, but there's gotta be an actual use.
Oh,
of the
as a
you know,
farm.
It doesn't necessarily need 495 status.
He initially went through wetlands for planting of trees, and that's what he was going to be utilizing for a period of time until he was going to determine what the actual use of the property was going to be later on for farming.
But you should probably get a statement of use.
Yeah,
from him.
a narrative, he's a narrative.
Yes, but it sounds like he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah.
If you cannot enter an application, let me see. I did provide this to the commissions in the package,
Is that the letter from him?
the letter from
Yeah,
him.
I read that. I think you guys.
Right.
I saw Christmas tree farming. I saw.
Right.
Hay,
Mhm.
like,
Right.
feed hay or something.
Mhm.
And is he doing that now or are they, proposed uses?
He's proposing that type of use.
Okay, so they're not in effect right now.
They're not in effect, no. He wants to propose that type of use, which is that letter. However, he definitely has to go through in front of the commission to determine the Inland Wetlands Commission particularly determine what kind of operations really is gonna be run. It's mostly wetlands.
See what wetlands does, maybe go from there.
No, asking.
No.
Okay, yeah, just sit.
And there has been a lot of discussions with DPW in regards to road work and drainage situations. That for some particular reason has fallen under me sometimes for addressing this with the applicants or the property owners. Yeah. But other than that, those are the complaints I've been receiving or general communications, they're said. I've been receiving. I know, Catherine, you raised your hand, you needed to make a comment, but I'm not 100%. Only if the commission permits the comment, then you will be allowed to speak, so we'll say, address it to the chairman of the commission, and then the chairman will be the one that will determine whether or not the public comment will be allowed. All right?
Well, what is it in regard to?
My comments with regard to 58 Amity Road, I think most of the people here tonight are interested in that property. I see neighbors, I see people who are formerly involved with Rocky Corner. My husband and I are most directly impacted, we live directly across the street by the proposal. I'm really
shocked kind of at the lack of presentation that they brought tonight. I'm also kind of concerned that they really had no questions. The neighbors and I and other people who approached them about interest in property are receiving different answers from them about what they intend to do with the property. And it seems to me that the answers that were given depend on who's asking the question. You know, so the neighbor next door who's building who has a horse farm is being told, oh, we're gonna have a program for horses. My husband and I were told something, my husband was told something entirely different. So I have a background in public housing, and I feel like this particular proposed property owner is either intentionally or woefully naive about what he's getting involved in and the impact this will have on Bethany. The project it's been presented by my husband and myself and neighbors is entirely different than what he was discussing here. This seems to be like, oh, just gonna be rental properties. Well, that's not what the property was originally approved for. We would really like to see a project that actually benefits Bethany. We don't want to see a situation where people are effectively warehoused, which is what this would be. This would be warehousing. We have no services for people in our town. Good, bad, and different. We have no public transportation. This would be putting a significant burden on our volunteer fire department and our emergency services, this type of project. We have a dentist in town. We have nothing, no medical, we have no doctors in town, other than the people who live here. So I would really hope the board would pay a lot of attention to this. As an aunt of 2 veterans, one of whom is disabled, I would not want to see my nephew in a pot located on Rocky Point. Although I love Bethany personally and wouldn't live anyplace else, it's not a place for someone who needs services. And I say that based on my own experience in nonprofit boards that provided housing, transitional housing for people with HIV/AIDS, my experiences with the Housing Authority of New Haven, my experiences as a landlord, my experiences in the real estate industry. And they're talking about transitional people, so this is a very short term. These are not people who are going to become part of the Bethany community, and that's really what Rocky Twitter was intended to be. It was intended for folks who are going to become part of our Bethany community. He's talking about, you need a car to live in Bethany. Let's face it. They're not addressing that at all, and I want to see something happen in Rocky Corner. I really do. And, it's a waste for our town right now, the way it is. I really wish we had a town that was. And I'm trying not to offend anybody, okay, I say this all the time. I wish we had a better leadership in this town, because then something would be done with this property. Somebody would have taken their hands on it and either gotten done the way it's supposed to do, or something would have happened. And it's not just sitting out here vulnerable to someone who thinks they're going to make a quick dime on people's poverty, which basically is how I read the situation. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been hearing from neighbors who are getting questions. Lino's wonderful to provide a whole lot of documents to me. Who Ford provided film footage on the history of Rocky Corner, which we'll be going through. But I really hope the board takes this situation seriously and really takes a good look at it. It's not good for veterans, and it's not good for our town. Thank you.
Would I be allowed to comment too on that same vein? I promise I'll keep it brief.
Sure.
So my concern or my questions, which I would like to have the opportunity to talk, I've read the flyers, I've looked at some of the proposals that they've had up, and it's displaced, transitional, mental health counseling, job counseling. I mean, it is structured and sounds very, and 3-month length of stays. This is a residential treatment facility, is what they're proposing. It may not be what they're calling it, but this meets the criteria for a residential treatment facility. If that is the case, what kind of staffing are they gonna have? Are they gonna have licensed counselors on grounds 24/7? This is, I work with this population. This is a pretty sick population. They need a lot of wraparound services, particularly if they're in this transitional, i.e. coming off being homeless and getting counseling. They need a lot of in-house services, not just we're gonna stick them over here, or no, we're just housing them. I'm concerned that it sounds like a residential treatment facility, but they're getting around the state mandates for what a residential treatment facility must have for safety. That's my concern.
Thank you.
Patricia Weiner. Road. In the flyer that they sent around, it said that there would be 64 veterans and their families housed on this property.
And it's zoned for 33 units. Did they apply to double the density? Have they revised their plans?
There might be, and I can't speak to it correctly, but there might be more than one person living in a unit. There might be a husband and wife, there might be family.
No,
kids.
it's 64
I know what it said,
families.
I know what it said, but I think that, there could be more than one person living in a unit. And again, the flyer means absolutely nothing from a regulatory standpoint. It's PR.
No,
and
I'm just
advertising.
wondering what they're actually planning.
I don't know, Darius may be able to answer that, and if you have questions, we can.
Has there been an actual application for anything?
Only what was previously approved.
Hasn't all those permits been, expired?
No.
So they just explain briefly, anything that happened prior to the current ownership, which is owned by the bank, all those documentations were voided. And all these contractors that were voided, so they had to initiate new applications with the new contractors to the new, no, for under building department. So they were already under the building aspects because they already passed through the commissions, those approvals.
Yeah, just so there's no confusion with the public.
Yeah.
Particularly coming out of COVID, the legislature extended the time frame for the expiration of site plans to a ridiculous, like 19-year window. And it depends on when the approval entered, prior to a certain date, but for the most part, we always went for a rule of 5 years from, as long as the infrastructure was completed within 5 years, you were fine. But the legislature then extended that to 8 years, then extended that to 9 years, because contractors were finding that the economy, they weren't selling as quickly. So the legislature trying to business friendly was extending out the time period for them to finish their constructions. Depending upon the approval, it's going to vary